You are invited to participate in a true multimedia experience coming to a home near you. LCM TV is bringing Lake County into the new millennium with news, live broadcast, information, music, talk shows, and local programming, all streaming in high definition online and soon to be on your Roku box. Join us at lcm-tv.com or be a part of our studio audience. You can also watch the shows at lakecomagazine.com as we provide programming to inform, enlighten, and maybe even enrage you. On Lake County Magazine Talk Show with Terry and Pete the Tax Guy, Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m. Like racing? Try the Checkered Flag Show, hosted by Ace Naylor on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. All ages and divisions in regional and national fields. Joni Lane brings a positive light to you every Monday at 3 p.m. Pasha Space brings an international flair as they discuss ecological, health, and social issues in Haiti with people around the world. End up your week with positive, conscious sounds on Saturday at 9 a.m. with Sister T on the Bridge. This show is also simulcast on KMEC 105.1 FM in Ukiah. Our latest show, LCM TV News, is brought to you live Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at noon, and rebroadcast at 6:30 p.m. and noon daily, Tuesday, Saturday, and Sunday, featuring national, regional, and local news, weather, and sports. We have it all here for you on your local TV station, LCM TV. Join us online and soon on Roku, giving you access to all the best Lake County has to offer. We are LCMTV.com, your multimedia connection. Tune in for the fun. It's live TV at its best.
Good afternoon. This is LCM TV News at noon. We're not your normal news. I'm Pete Schiffman.
I'm Megan Berger.
And thank you for tuning in today. On Wednesday evening, a white gunman opened fire at a historic black church in downtown Charleston, South Carolina, killing 9 people before fleeing and setting off an overnight manhunt. At a news conference with Charleston's mayor early Thursday, the police chief, Greg Mullen, called the shooting a hate crime. The police said the gunman walked into the historic Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church around 9 p.m. He sat at the church meeting for an hour before opening fire. 8 people died at the scene, and 2 people were taken to the Medical University of Southern Carolina. One of them died on the way. On Thursday, the police captured the 21-year-old suspect nearly 14 hours later and 240 miles away after an all-night manhunt. Dylan Ruff of Columbia was captured without incident just before noon in a traffic stop after a tip led police to Shelby, North Carolina. He was in the black Hyundai sedan seen fleeing the horrific scene at Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church, where the church's pastor, Clementa Pinckney, who is also a state senator, was among those killed. With Ruff in custody, the focus turned to his motives and the victims in the horrific attack that shocked Charleston's close-knit African-American community and prompted President Obama, who knew Pinckney, to say it raises questions about a dark part of our history.
The House approved a key plank of President Obama's trade agenda on Thursday after the push nearly imploded amid Democratic resistance last week, sending the bill to the Senate where it still faces an uncertain fate. The 218 to 208 vote marked a significant victory for Obama and his pro-trade supporters on both parties. The bill would specifically give the president so-called fast-track authority to approve trade deals, which Obama wants to seal a 12-nation pact involving Japan and 11 other countries bordering the Pacific Ocean. The Trans-Pacific Partnership, or TPP, is the largest multilateral free trade agreement ever negotiated by the United States. Given the 12 original member countries, plus all those countries who wish to join, the TPP has the potential to cover over half of all trade within the United States. The mechanics of the vote are some of the most complicated in a recent memory. The vote failed in the House last week because another measure it was attached to was defeated by a coalition of Democrats and Republicans. On Thursday, House leaders moved to vote only on the fast-track measure known as the Trade Promotion Authority. The measure on the House floor would give Obama authority to negotiate global trade deals that Congress can approve or reject but not change. Other recent presidents have had the same prerogative Obama seeks. With the bill's approval, it heads back to the Senate, where lawmakers would have to approve it intact in order to send it to Obama's desk. Organized labor and other opponents of the international trade deals say they cost thousands of American workers their jobs by shifting employment to foreign countries with low wages, poor working conditions, and lax environmental standards. Officials in Congress said Boehner and McConnell hope to have both the trade and the aid legislation to the president by the time lawmakers begin a scheduled vacation at the end of next week.
Want to interfere with their vacations?
No, they, yes. Anyway, the Federal Communications Commission slapped AT&T with a $100 million fine Wednesday, accusing the country's second largest cellular carrier of improperly slowing down internet speeds for customers who had signed up for the unlimited data plans. The FCC found that when customers used up a certain amount of data watching movies or browsing the web, AT&T throttled their internet speeds so they were much slower than normal. Millions of AT&T customers were affected by the practice, according to the FCC. The fine, which AT&T says it will fight, is the largest ever levied by the agency. AT&T implemented the practice in 2011, prompting thousands of customers to complain to the FCC, according to an agency statement. By not properly disclosing the policy to consumers who thought they were getting unlimited data, the company violated the FCC's rules on corporate transparency. Consumers deserve to get what they pay for, FCC Chairman Tom Wheeler said. Broadband providers must be upfront and transparent about the services they provide. The FCC will not stand idly by while customers are deceived by misleading marketing materials and insufficient disclosure. Many of AT&T's unlimited customers have 4G LTE service, which typically provides mobile internet speeds of more than 30 megabits per second. That's roughly 60 times faster than the speeds experienced when AT&T throttled subscribers who were slowed to speeds equivalent to dial-up, according to a senior FCC official. But consumers are unlikely to receive any money from the fine, which will go instead to the U.S. Treasury. Typical. AT&T dispute the charges. FCC has specifically identified this practice as a legitimate and reasonable way to manage network resources for the benefit of all customers, and has been for years that all major carriers use it, the company said in a statement. We have been fully transparent with our customers, providing notice in multiple ways and going well beyond the FCC's disclosure requirements. This isn't the first time AT&T's unlimited data policy has landed the company in hot water. The Federal Trade Commission sued the telecom company in October, alleging that 3.5 million users had their internet service slowed to dial-up speeds an average of 12 days every month. This comes at a tricky time for AT&T, which is trying to convince regulators to approve its $49 billion acquisition of the nation's largest satellite TV provider, DirecTV.
Oh, I know where I won't get phone service now.
Well, they're horrible here in Lake County anyway.
No AT&T for me. Republicans who have been hoping that the Supreme Court will upend President Obama's health care law are now confronting an urgent and uncomfortable question. What if they win? Republicans in Congress would face an enormously complicated challenge to fashion an alternative, and they fear the fallout could lead to election losses if millions of Americans abruptly found themselves without health insurance. If the court voids a federal rule allowing subsidies in states that use federal insurance marketplace, many Republicans said, they would support a temporary continuation of subsidies for people with low to moderate incomes. Senator John Barrasso, Republican of Wyoming, said, "Our goal is to protect people, not the law." Democrats denounced the proposal, saying they would increase the number of uninsured and drive up premiums. But Republicans said a full-scale replacement for the health law would not be their immediate objective. At separate meetings on Wednesday, House and Senate Republicans discussed possible responses to a Supreme Court decision. Representative Kevin Brady, Republican of Texas, has laid out a draft framework for legislation. Under the proposal, the state could opt out of Obamacare and receive an allotment of federal money, a block grant, to provide health coverage in various ways. The allotment would be equivalent to subsidies that residents of the state now receive, but states and consumers would have much more discretion over the use of the money.
And in a story that's right up my alley, Republican presidential candidate Rand Paul called Thursday for a fair and flat tax that would blow up the nation's tax code, offering a proposal his campaign said would cut taxes by $2 trillion over the next decade. The first-time senator from Kentucky released the outline of a plan to institute a 14.5% income tax rate on all individuals, as well as a tax of the same rate on all business revenue. It was among the first major policy proposals released by Paul's presidential campaign, although he did not make the full plan available for review. Basically, my conclusion is the tax code can't be fixed and should be scrapped. This is what he said during an interview with the Associated Press. Excuse me. Many of the dozen major Republican candidates for president list tax reform among their priorities. Texas Senator Ted Cruz, for example, is among the GOP contenders calling for the wholesale abolition of the Internal Revenue Service, a position many experts say is unrealistic. What a shame. But few have offered detailed proposals, and while Paul said his plan would benefit Americans both rich and poor, he cited an independent analysis that his campaign did not make available to reporters. In a column describing highlights of his plan published Thursday in the Wall Street Journal, Paul called for the outright elimination of payroll taxes on workers and of several other federal taxes, including those on gifts and estates, telephone service, and all duties and tariffs. He also proposed eliminating all corporate tax subsidies and personal tax deductions, except those for mortgage interest and charitable donations. Paul says the first $50,000 of income for a family of four would not be taxed, and the earned income tax credit would be preserved. The plan would also replace the corporate tax with a 14.5% tax on businesses' capital income, including profits, rents, and royalties, and labor expenses such as wages and salaries, according to analysis by the Conservative Tax Foundation. Nonprofits and governments would also pay a 14.5% tax on wages for their employees.
I'd like to skip my payroll taxes. That would be sweet. Pope Francis called Thursday for a radical transformation of politics, economics, and individual lifestyles to confront environmental degradation and climate change, blending a biting critique of consumerism and irresponsible development with a plea for swift and unified global action. The vision that Francis outlined in a 184-page papal encyclical is sweeping in ambition and scope. He described relentless exploitation and destruction of the environment and said apathy, the reckless pursuit of profits, excessive faith in technology, and political short-sightedness were to blame. The most vulnerable victims, he declared, are the world's poorest people who are being dislocated and disregarded. Francis, the first pope from the developing world, placed most of the blame on fossil fuels and human activity while warning of an unprecedented destruction of ecosystems with serious consequences for all of us if corrective action is not taken swiftly. Developed industrialized countries were most responsible, he said, and are obligated to help poorer nations confront the crisis. Francis has made clear that he hopes the encyclical will influence energy and economic policy and stir a global movement. He calls on ordinary people to press politicians for change. The Pope's stance against environmental destruction and his demand for global action has already thrilled many scientists before the encyclical. Advocates of policies to combat climate change have said they hoped Francis would lend a moral dimension to the debate.
Astronomers said Wednesday that they had discovered a lost generation of monster stars that ushered light into the universe after the Big Bang and jump-started the creation of the elements needed for planets and life before disappearing forever. Modern-day stars like our Sun have a healthy mix of heavy elements, known as metals, but in the aftermath of the Big Bang, only hydrogen, helium, and small traces of lithium were available to make the first stars. Such stars could have been hundreds or thousands of times as massive as the Sun, according to calculations, burning brightly and dying quickly over 200 million years after the universe began. Their explosions would have spewed into space the elements that started the chain of thermonuclear reactions by which subsequent generations of stars have gradually enriched the cosmos with elements like oxygen, carbon, and iron. Spotting the older stars in action is one of the prime missions of the James Webb Space Telescope, to be launched by NASA in 2018. Leiden Observatory in the Netherlands said they had spotted the signature of these first-generation stars in a recently discovered galaxy that existed when the universe was only 800 million years old. Its light has been traveling to us for 12.9 billion years.
Trans fat will be almost entirely removed from the American food supply over the next 3 years after the U.S. Food and Drug Administration finalized plans on Tuesday to ban the heart-damaging additive. The agency officially declared trans fat unsafe for human consumption, even in small amounts. The decision came 2 years after the FDA first proposed removing trans fat from the list of foods considered safe. Now food manufacturers have 3 years to eliminate it from most of their products. The ban is ultimately a move in the right direction, but is arguably too late to be of much use to consumers, said nutritionalists and health experts. Pressured by consumer advocacy groups and mounting public criticism of trans fat, most U.S. food manufacturers have already stopped using it, and several places, including California, banned the additive in restaurants and bakeries years ago. Trans fat, which often appears on food ingredient lists as partially hydrogenated oil, is made from a manufacturing process in which hydrogen is added to oil to make it a solid. Research has linked trans fat to a variety of health problems, but most directly to worsening cholesterol levels. The FDA first expressed concerns over trans fat in 1999, and then in 2006 it began requiring manufacturers to clearly label trans fat levels on their products. That policy led to a rapid and dramatic drop in the amount of trans fat found in processed foods, and consumption fell about 78% from 2003 to 2012 in the United States. The new policy will exempt naturally occurring trans fat, which can be found in some meat and dairy products, and food manufacturers can apply for exemptions for some products.
In regional news today, the out-of-control lake fire has scorched 11,000 acres in a remote area of the San Bernardino National Forest at 10% containment. The fire was burning away from communities, but there are about 150 structures threatened. Per 200 residences have been evacuated in areas located east of Angeles Oaks, Onyx Summit, Barton Flats, Seven Oaks, and the homes off Rainbow Lane. Highway 38 remains closed between Angeles Oaks and Lake Williams and Jenks Road, as well as San Gordio, wilderness hiking trails in those areas. Big Bear is not under any threat at this time. Cause of the fire is still currently under investigation. The fire is currently burning east of Camp de Benneville, Pine south of Jenks Lake Road. Over 11,000 acres have burned at 5% containment. 10% containment at this point. Sorry, we just had an update on that. Senator Mike McGuire has dedicated the greater part of the last 5 years on expanding career training and job skills programs in our public, middle, and high schools. Since being elected to the state Senate, McGuire has doubled down on those efforts, organizing a bipartisan coalition to successfully push for the largest investment in career training programs over the last decade via the Career and Job Skills Education Act, SB 148. Agreed to by the Budget Conference Committee and heading to a floor vote in the state Senate and Assembly later this week, $400 million will be invested across the state into results-driven, high-quality career training classes in public, middle, and high schools. This is the first time that small and rural districts, like many on the North Coast, will have an equal playing field when it comes to career and job skills training, McGuire said. We know that results-driven career technical education increases high school graduation rates and ensures students are better prepared for the workforce. Across the state, CTE programs have been cut by districts as California's education financing structure has undergone significant change. Senator McGuire has made it a priority to increase the state's commitment to career technical education by investing millions of dollars into new and expanded high-quality programs. This year, students all across our state will benefit from this $400 million investment in career training programs, and I can't thank the Governor Pro Tem Delen and our bipartisan coalition enough for their incredible work and dedication to this vital issue. A new generation of students will have the resources they need to succeed in our state's growing economy, which will benefit our communities in the years to come. Key to McGuire's CTE proposal are elements that would ensure smaller school districts are not at a disadvantage when it comes to applying for CTE funding, and that urban and rural districts that have high dropout and unemployment rates will receive priority when applying for funding. In addition, districts that have high English language learner populations, low-income families, and foster youth will also be provided priority. Additionally, McGuire has focused on establishing accountability metrics to ensure that CTE money is being spent on high-quality programs that lead to student success. Almost 70% of public high school graduates in California will not go on to receive a four-year college degree. The investment in CTE funding comes on the heels of the largest investment the legislation has ever proposed for public education when the Senate and Assembly passed the legislative budget yesterday. The budget prioritizes education funding by investing more than $68 billion, more than $10,000 per pupil, an increase of 15% in just 2 years. This year's budget will also invest $265 million for early childhood education programs. It will create an additional 10,000 new slots in the California State University system, 5,000 new slots in the University of California system, in addition to a 2-year tuition freeze, and will grow the state's reserves to the largest in decades.
In a ruling that fuels a long simmering debate over some of Silicon Valley's fastest growing technology companies and the work they're creating, the California Labor Commissioner's Office said that a driver for the ride-hailing service Uber should be classified as an employee, not an independent contractor. The ruling ordered Uber to reimburse Barbara Ann Berwick $4,152.20 in expenses and other costs for the roughly 8 weeks she worked as an Uber driver last year. While Uber has long positioned itself as merely an app that connects drivers and passengers with no control over the hours its drivers work, the Labor Office cited many instances in which it said Uber acted more like an employer. Uber is appealing the decision. The California ruling stands out because officials formally laid out their arguments for why Uber drivers are employees. California law expressly requires employers to reimburse employees for business expenses, and several suits proceeding against Uber are based on that law. The California ruling, which came to light after Uber filed an appeal Tuesday evening, noted that the company provided drivers with phones and had a policy of deactivating its app if drivers were inactive for 180 days. Berwick said she started driving for Uber last summer because she had grown bored working by herself at her computer, but she quickly took issue with Uber's policy of classifying drivers as independent contractors. People who drive are employees, she said. Bus drivers are employees. Paratransit drivers are employees. Berwick has a history of being litigious. Since 1991, she and her company have filed at least 20 lawsuits in California. In one case, she sued an employee of a pizza parlor for $500 in damages for leaving a restaurant menu at her gate. She was not awarded any damages. As a footnote to this story, the IRS defines someone as an independent contractor as follows. Can the person choose their hours and when they work? Is the person using their own equipment? In this case, only phones were provided. Do they have to work on the employer's premises? The keys are to look at the entire relationship, consider the degree or extent of the right to direct and control, and finally to document each of the factors used in coming up with a determination.
I know, I've looked at this story and the facts, and I personally think they're independent contractors based on IRS definitions.
I drove taxi for 9 months. I was an independent contractor.
And comparing that to bus and transit
You don't
employees, that's
clock in, you
ridiculous.
don't clock out.
Obviously doesn't have a clue. And
No, and 50 lawsuits? Yeah.
20?
20.
Yeah.
Okay, 20,
He's
50.
obviously one of those sued before you ask.
Yeah, I guess so. Okay, guys. A state economic development board approved nearly $50 million in tax cuts Thursday for companies that promise, in tax credits Thursday for companies that promise to create a total of 11,000 jobs in California, including a $15 million credit for electric vehicle maker Tesla Motors. The board approved all the credits recommended for 63 companies by the staff of Governor Jerry Brown's GoBiz agency. The credit for Tesla was approved on a 4-1 vote, with board member Madeline Janis opposed. Tesla said it would invest another $2.4 billion in California as part of the deal with the state. Janis questioned whether any of that money would be from other public sources because Tesla has notably sought public subsidies. Last year, Tesla pitted several states against each other in a bidding war over which state would be the site of its new $5 billion battery factory. Nevada won after offering $1.3 billion in tax breaks. Despite the fight over the battery plant, the Fremont, California-based company is committed to California. Tesla is now California's largest manufacturing employer with 9,000 jobs in the state. Other credits awarded Thursday include $3 million for Los Angeles-based Riot Games that promised 813 jobs, $2.3 million for Santa Monica-based Beachbody that promised 327 jobs, $2 million for Ajinomoto, Althea, that promised 243 jobs, $2 million for Environmental Systems Research Institute, Inc., which promised 370 jobs, $2 million for National Steel and Shipbuilding Company that promised 384 jobs, and $1.13 million for Manhattan Beach-based Skechers USA that promised 200 jobs.
Now you take a break.
We'll be right back, folks, with the local news.
SSS Multimedia is sending you smoke signals, providing their clients with the ultimate communication and multimedia marketing, distribution, production, and web-based services. They feature high-def video equipment and quality audio sound. SSS is your multimedia source, from graphics for business cards to television production, radio, live sound, and everything in between. SSS is sending you smoke signals. Get your message out with SSS Multimedia. For more information, call 707-701-6416 or email info@sssmultimedia.com.
We are back with your local news. On June 17th, at approximately 6:30 a.m., a property owner contacted Lake County Sheriff Office Central Dispatch to report that he had located a deceased female inside a vehicle on his property. The property is located in a remote area off of Jerusalem Grade in Middletown. Deputies responded to the location and noticed the vehicle was a Toyota 4Runner, which matched the description of the vehicle belonging to Helen Sharp, who was reported missing on June 11th of 2015. Central Dispatch ran the license plate through the computer system and advised that Helen Sharp was the registered owner. The deputies were unable to positively identify the individual located inside the vehicle. The investigation in this case is ongoing, and deputies are following up on all possible leads. The Lake County Sheriff Office is hoping to schedule an autopsy for next week to positively identify the individual and determine the cause of death. Reportedly, Dr. Sharp had damaged her vehicle Saturday, June 6th, and had taken it to a body shop in Middletown last Wednesday to get the damage repaired. She came back to the body shop later that afternoon and picked up her SUV before the damage was fixed. No one had seen her since that time. Her daughter, Hannah's father, Russ McAllister, has set up a GoFundMe account to raise money for Hannah to come for the funeral in the event that Dr. Sharp is identified as the person who was found. You can contribute to this fund by going to www.gofundme.com/xbwcbk.
It'd be a good cause for everyone to donate to. It was a shame.
She's such a good person.
Highway 29 near Calistoga was closed for 3 hours last Thursday after a truck collided with a motorcycle, resulting in the death of the motorcyclist. The driver of the truck fled the scene. 67-year-old Clear Lake Oaks resident Kenneth Shuzlin was driving his 2011 Dodge Ram northbound on Highway 29, just north of Tubbs Lane at an unknown speed when he took a curve in the roadway and struck a motorcyclist heading the opposite direction. The motorcyclist was identified as 58-year-old Harley Kellner of Napa, was ejected from his 1987 Harley Davidson and struck a power pole, succumbing to his injuries on scene. Shuzlin failed to report the collision and left the scene. According to investigating officer Wayne of Napa County CHP, a helicopter was called to locate the driver. He was stopped just outside of Lower Lake and taken into custody. Shuzlin is being held in Napa County Jail with the primary charge of vehicular manslaughter, hit and run, and driving under the influence. According to Officer Wayne, alcohol does not appear to be a factor. However, he's still being charged with a DUI due to the fact that he was under the influence of prescription medication. Many stopped on the scene to help the man who was fatally wounded. The first police officer on the scene wanted the family to find some peace in knowing that Harley was surrounded by total strangers that showed compassion, caring, and love that is rarely seen in today's world. He told the total strangers, "You are a voice for a man that could not speak for himself. Your statements and accounts saw that the person responsible was found and will face justice. For your compassion, caring, and your emotion, I thank you. You remind me that there is good in the world, that I see the bad side all too often."
Early yesterday morning, just after midnight, deputies from the Mendocino County Sheriff Office were dispatched to the 100 block of Canyon Drive in Ukiah for a reported victim of a gunshot wound. Officers from the Ukiah Police Department arrived on scene along with deputies, and upon arrival, the victim, 12-year-old male juvenile, was located in the roadway suffering from a possible gunshot wound to his face and neck area. First aid was administered and emergency services were called. It was initially reported that the victim and the suspect, Jaime Rodriguez, were victimized by subjects in a vehicle during a drive-by shooting. Additional investigation revealed that the suspect, victim, and another juvenile had been in the rear yard of the house at 112 Canyon when the suspect, Jaime Rodriguez, produced a handgun and started to manipulate it. According to interviews of the suspect and witness, the suspect negligently fired the weapon, striking the victim at near point-blank range. Rodriguez then carried the victim to the roadway, and a neighbor called 911. The 12-year-old victim was transported to Ukiah Valley Medical Center, where life-saving measures continued. Once the victim was stabilized enough for further transportation, he was flown via air ambulance to an out-of-county hospital. Jaime Rodriguez was subsequently booked in the Mendocino County Jail for discharging a firearm in a grossly negligent manner, willfully causing great bodily injury to a child, as well as 3 unrelated arrest warrants. He had a long history of arrests. The firearm was recovered and there are no known suspects outstanding.
A car crashed into a mobile home in Lucerne on Thursday, killing its driver, who was the sole occupant, according to reports from Lake County CHP and CAL FIRE. CAL FIRE Captain Joe Fletcher said the crash was reported around 3:20 p.m. Responders received reports of a speeding car driving off the road in a construction zone at Highway 20 and Grove Street near Sandy Beach Trailer Lodge. The vehicle reportedly hit trees, a shed, and a home.
Walmart has announced its plans to remodel and expand its current store in Clear Lake. Originally built in 1994, the Clear Lake Walmart expansion project will result in a larger grocery department and, according to the company, create about 85 new jobs for the local community. Having been a part of Clear Lake community for over 20 years, we are always looking for better ways to serve our customers, said Clear Lake Walmart store manager Travis Peck. Remodeling and expanding our current store will allow us to offer our customers greater convenience by providing a one-stop shopping experience and create new jobs for the community. The plan for the store remodel and expansion, submitted to the city June 16th, calls for an addition of approximately 38,741 square feet of building area for a total store size of 148,258 square feet. The expansion would include additional food and general merchandise sales floor area, food sales support area, stockroom receiving area, ancillary space, and food tenant space. In addition, the exterior of the store will undergo a complete renovation, including parking lot lighting, signage, shading, and the removal of the store's tire and lube express. The store will also offer a pickup service that allows customers to order groceries and or general merchandise online from Walmart's website and conveniently pick up their products at the store. As of April, the average wage for a regular full-time hourly associate in California is $13.33 per hour.
From all indications, the recent carp die-off at Clear Lake has subsided. Most of the fishermen and boaters report seeing fewer dead carp on the beaches and floating in the lake. Mark Miller of the county's Water Resources Department said that earlier this week he made a trip around the lake in the county's airboat, saw very few fresh dead fish. In the first week of June, people began reporting scores of dead carp. A fishing guide counted 25 near Nice in one day. At Library Park in Lakeport, authorities picked up 30 dead carp from the shoreline in one morning. The Department of Fish and Wildlife took samples of the dead carp and sent them to the laboratory in Sacramento, but haven't received the results of the test. Biologists suspect the carp die-off as a result of koi herpes virus, and it's estimated that several thousand carp died as a result of contracting the disease. The disease only affects members of the carp family and not other species of the fish in the lake. It cannot be passed on to humans. The last major die-off was in 2008 when tens of thousands of carp died.
It is one of the liveliest and entertaining events of the season, and it's happening tonight. The 4th annual dinner and auction fundraiser for the South Lake Volunteer Firefighters will feature a prime rib and salmon dinner with lots and lots of wine, liquor, games, guns, and a live auction, raffle, and much more. It's a great event supporting an even greater cause. Funds raised will help provide much needed equipment for the firefighters who protect South Lake County. Dinner tickets are $40 in advance, $50 at the door, and your ticket includes $5 free play at the Twin Pines Casino. Tickets for the 50-50 and raffles are available now, and the winner does not need to be present to win. Drawing will be held this evening. To purchase tickets, find your favorite South Lake volunteer firefighter or email south.lake.fire@gmail.com, or you can call 707-987-3089 extension 4 and leave a message.
You know, I guarantee my wife will be taking advantage of that $5 free play.
You betcha, I'm there.
We'll be back with the weather.
The question is how much he asked you to. Never mind. You can go ahead and do the weather.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
Are you on the commercial yet?
waiting too.
Let's do the weather
Oh, okay. We're doing the weather.
first. Yeah, we got the video at the end, so we don't have to.
Nothing like ad-libbing, folks.
Woohoo, live TV.
Last night hit a low of 57 degrees. Today we will see partly cloudy skies with a high of 92. Winds will shift to the west-southwest at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Tonight we'll see clear skies with a low of 61. Winds will remain from the west-southwest at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Saturday will be sunny with a high of 95. Winds will switch to the southwest at 10 to 20 miles per hour all day and during the evening. The evening will be clear with a low around 55. Sunday will bring us a high of 88 with winds staying from the southwest at 10 to 15, cooling down to 55 degrees. When we join you back on Monday, our high will be 87 with the winds from the west-southwest at 10 to 15 miles per hour. We have a 0% chance of rain through Monday.
We'll be back shortly with sports.
The taxman's taken all my dough and left me in my stately home, blazing on a sunny afternoon. And I can't sail my yacht, he's taken everything I got. All I've got's this sunny afternoon.
Manticorp Tax and Accounting can help you minimize taxation, establish a corporate presence, and save you money. Our over 25 years of experience in domestic and international taxation and incorporation services makes us the best at what we do. Your first consultation at Manticorp is always free, and our discounted rates guarantee you will not end up paying for what you don't get. Try Manticorp today. For more information, call 707-701-6416 or email info@manticorpusa.com.
In the summertime.
And welcome back. And in sports today, the 2015 edition of the annual Redwood Empire All-Star Basketball Game takes place June 27th at Rincon Valley Christian High School in Santa Rosa. Tip-off is 7 p.m. Of the 20 seniors participating from the North Central League 1, 2, and 3, as well as Archbishop Hannah of the SSBL, 4 are from Lake County. Brandon Huber of Kelseyville joins Middletown's Cody Corgell, as well as Lower Lake's Dustin Martin and James Clark on the All-Star roster. Huber and Corgell were both all NCL1 second-team selections this past season, while Clark was an honorable mention. Corgell ranked 3rd in Lake County in scoring at 14.1 points a game, while Martin was 4th at 14.0. Huber averaged 11.6 points a game himself. There's admission charge and a snack bar that will be in operation. A girls' All-Star game was canceled because of a lack of interest by Empire schools. It will return in 2016. Oil Stop Chevron Drive-Thru Oil Change is sponsoring the game, while the North Coast Official Association is providing the game officials. The All-Star contest will consist of 2 20-minute halves. Coaches will draft 10-man teams from prior to the game.
Building winning football teams is largely a matter of finding the right chemistry. And who better to do that than a head coach who, in fact, teaches real-life chemistry at Kelseyville High School as well as math at Mendocino College. Kelseyville is counting on Eric Larson having the right chemistry to make the Knights a viable force in Northern California football, which of course is an entirely different matter than classroom chemistry. Still, as anyone knows, to be successful, a head coach must have to have all the necessary parts, such as experience. Larson played and helped coach football under longtime head coach Stan Weeper in the late 1990s, and after that in the Kelseyville Youth Program's rotating system, most recently as a junior varsity head coach. He is a second-generation player at Kelseyville. The first question for Larson, as it is for any new football coach in Lake County, is can he beat Bill Fultmer and the Middletown Mustangs, who are year in and year out of the force in Lake County. The question stunned Larson to momentary silence. Oh man, that's a great question, he said. I look at Bill's teams and I admire how disciplined they are and how well they play as a team and how much they love the game. I feel that the parts are there for that, but we have to get the kids working well and working together as a team. There are a number of kids who didn't come out last year, he added. How good the Knights can be depends on how they respond from what Larson calls losing a senior-laden team last year. The youth football program, which made news by going undefeated at 3 different levels last year, is in great shape. When the Knights' head coaching job opened again this season following the resignation of Mike McGuire, who was combined 11-11 in 2 seasons at the helm of the Knights, Larson said he was cleared for takeoff. What Larson likes best is the balanced offense he anticipates at Kelseyville, powered by a tailback and play-action passing. We'll keep the defense guessing and make them defend the whole field, he said as a smile lit up on his face. We're going to be balanced, and I love that balance. It would be very helpful to beat Middletown. No one needs to remind Larson that Kelseyville hasn't beaten the Mustangs since Stan Weeper roamed the sidelines for the Knights a decade ago.
A long time. The Oakland A's crushed the San Diego Padres Wednesday night by a score of 16-2 behind the pitching of Jesse Chavez. Chavez pitched 7 innings, striking out 11, while giving up 3 hits, a walk, and 1 run. His pitching performance was backed by the A's offense, which had 20 hits, including 4 doubles, a triple, and 1 home run. Every starter had at least 1 hit each. The win denied the new Padres manager, Pat Kelly, of his first win. The Padres got their revenge, though, as they beat the A's on Thursday by a score of 3-1, providing Kelly his first win as manager. Oakland, after having 20 hits the night before, was limited to only 5 hits and 1 run by Ian Kennedy. Kendall Graveman took the loss for the A's, even though he only gave up 2 runs and 5 hits. Tonight, Oakland takes on the Angels with Sonny Grave on the mound, looking for his 9th win of the season.
The San Francisco Giants played the 3rd game of the 4-game series against the Mariners Wednesday evening. The pitching matchup of Felix Hernandez and Madison Bumgarner was a pitching duel waiting to happen. Each pitcher gave up only 4 hits, with Bumgarner having 9 strikeouts with Hernandez with. However, Hernandez did not give up a run as Seattle beat over the Giants by the score of 2-0. Matt Duffy led the Giants with 2 hits. Last night, the Giants took on the Mariners in the final game of the series. With Ryan Vogelsong on the mound, the San Francisco Giants beat Seattle by a score of 7-0. Vogelsong had his best outing in 2 weeks, giving up 3 hits and, more importantly, no runs with 6 2/3 innings, striking out 6 and walking only 2. The Giants were led by Angel Pagan, Andrew Susac, and Justin Maxwell, who each had 2 hits, with Panic adding a double and Duffy a triple. The Giants are now 2.5 games behind the LA Dodgers. Next up, the Giants face Dodgers in a 3-game series in LA.
Fresh off their victory of the Cleveland Cavaliers and with a championship trophy in hand, the Golden State Warriors were honored with a parade today, hosted by the city of Oakland. The parade started at 10 o'clock this morning, beginning on Broadway at 11th Street, turning right on Grand Avenue and right on Harrison to Lakeside Drive, ending on Oak and proceeding to the Henry J. Kaiser Convention Center for the rally. Fans lined up for the rally as early as 5 o'clock a.m. at Lakeshore and 12th Street. Hints are that it'll be a rally to remember with special appearances and lots of Oakland pride. The parade guys in San Francisco have built 6 floats lined with blue and gold for the players. Some of the floats were originally built for next weekend's Pride Parade, but were converted on short notice for the Warriors. Local law enforcement officials hope the event will be peaceful, Golden State Warrior fans behaved themselves on Tuesday night after the basketball team beat the Cleveland Cavaliers 105-97 in Game 6 of the finals.
And in our final word, a member of the public claimed to have seen a bearded man in a blue coat and red trousers, but in a comic twist, it later turned out to be a deflated Papa Smurf balloon. They're always such a surprise.
You never know what they're
A passenger in Dusseldorf, Germany, contacted the police to report the body, which was described, oh goodness, give me a second, as a bearded man in a blue coat and red trousers around 7 p.m. on Tuesday. Patrol cars and a helicopter were dispatched in just 7 minutes to spot near the railway line, but instead of a human body, Polizzi found a partially deflated balloon of the cartoon character. Cops gave the popular blue OAP a lift back to the police station, even strapping him on the front seat. Police have since searched for the balloon's owners with little luck, but insisted that the passenger did the right thing by contacting authorities. Dusseldorf police spokesperson said, "Joking aside, each of the officers involved in the operation was ultimately glad that their initial dire fears proved to be wrong. But the witness concern was entirely justified and could potentially save lives under different circumstances." The police emergency every serious and motivated citizens to report suspicious perceptions or perceived dangerous situations. The Smurfs made their debut in a Belgian comic in 1958 and have since spawned a hit in the 1980s cartoon series, as well as feature films and music albums. The next Smurfs film is scheduled to be released next year.
Let's see that picture again, Mark.
There you go, folks. Coming close here. Anyway, thank you for watching. That's our news for today. I'm Pete Schiffman.
I'm Megan Berger.
You have a great day. Our next show that's live is at 3 p.m. today, Pasha Space Show. We'll be back on Monday at 12 o'clock noon with our new shows for the day. You all have a great weekend and happy Father's Day to you dads.
Smurfs are people too.
Whatever.
Too.
They're blue.